Good evening, guys. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, must be delayed. So hopefully it's not too delayed here. I'll go ahead and get started here. So the first focus, this is going to focus on 3 days of severe weather, focusing in on Wednesday in particular. But I do want to go over the threat tonight and also a little bit on Thursday, what could happen on Thursday as well. But go ahead and get started here. We do have a low end risk up in the Upper Peninsula and also the west, northwest central parts of the Lower Peninsula. This is going to be for hail and hail only. There's no wind and no tornado threat this evening up in the northern parts of Michigan. There is a squall line that is expected to form after midnight tonight, and that'll push off to the east southeast toward lower Michigan into the southern parts of Michigan by the early Wednesday morning time frames. Now, severe weather again is not expected that far south. If you're south of Grand Rapids, Ithaca, Flint, Saginaw South, you guys are not in a severe threat tonight. But Mount Pleasant and north of there, you guys are in that severe threat, and that's only going to be for hail this evening into the overnight hours. So tomorrow morning, go ahead and flip over here to the model run. We'll go ahead and go over some models here. So if we go ahead and look at the NAM3, this will be the first model we're going to look at. So this is the NAM3 model. As you can see here, this is going to be this evening squall line that's expected to take shape. We're going to go ahead and back this up just a bit. So we're going to run through, this is this afternoon, this is going into the evening part. So this is 7 o'clock, so an hour ago, this is 8. We do have that bow echo begin to form up in the UP that pushes off to the east-southeast, and that will continue to push into the central and southern parts of Michigan, and that will also decay as that continues off to the south southeast, and it goes into Ohio at around 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it should clear the state by tomorrow around the 9 a.m. time frame if this model is accurate. So the first thing I want to go over again tonight, hail threat is the only threat tonight as there is really no instability. I'll go ahead and show you this. We'll go ahead and back this up to right about here. So this is tonight at 4 a.m. Now, if I switch over to my instability product, you're going to see the instability is not in Michigan, it's over in Wisconsin. So because that surface instability is missing, that is only why it's a hail threat and not a wind or a tornado threat tonight. It's only going to be hail. So that is going to be this evening. And as that pushes off to the south, if you guys wake up tomorrow morning and there's a line of storms coming, there's more than likely going to be a photogenic shelf cloud on the leading edge of that line. So if you guys are up early and you see that line coming towards you on radar, look to your north and you may see a really photogenic shelf cloud with that. All right, so that is this evening. Again, low end threat for hail tonight. It does exist. We'll be covering it here. We may go live if anything does happen significant, or if anything significant happens, we might go live. But the focus right now is going to be on tomorrow evening. Now, tomorrow is quite a complicated setup here, mainly because we have an atmospheric cap in place. Now, the cap is going to put a lid on the atmosphere, and what that does is prevent storms from the updraft of storms from going any higher than a few thousand feet in the atmosphere. So it really doesn't allow storms to get up and break that cap and become severe. So it can either limit storms or it can kill storms altogether. So the cap is going to be interesting to see how that plays out tomorrow. Now, if I go ahead and flip over to the severe weather outlook for tomorrow, which is right here, most of the lower peninsula of Michigan is included in that severe risk. It's a level 1 of 5 right now. I would not be shocked if that started climbing up into the slight And if everything came together, I would not be shocked to see an enhanced risk, but I don't think it's going to happen at this time. The ingredients, if everything comes together, does look supportive of all hazards in this time frame. Mainly wind is going to be your primary threat, hail your secondary, but there is enough low-level wind shear and turning with height with the wind shear that we could mention and could be looking at a few possible tornadic storms in the state. And again, it's highly conditional on if that cap is going to break, which is why you're seeing this very low end risk. Well, the parameter space for Wednesday evening is quite impressive. So if we look at some models for this, I'll go ahead and dive into the Wednesday evening time frame. So after tomorrow morning storms, usually when you have rain in the morning, it can kind of overturn the atmosphere. That's not really expected to happen on Wednesday afternoon. It's expected to clear out, sunny skies come out. It's going to be hot. It's going to be muggy. It's going to build instability through the day. The cap actually helps instability to build, but we need that cap to weaken and break if we want to get storms up and going. So if we look at the NAM 3 model, there's a couple different solutions that these models are throwing out. The NAM has seemed to be the most accurate one this year. So right now, the NAM is throwing out right around the Saginaw area. We have storms developing here late evening, so 6 o'clock. I think it's going to be a little bit later on, closer to maybe 8 or 9 for these storms, just because the cap is still quite strong at this point. We may see some isolated showers and storms through the afternoon, but the chance of that is quite low throughout the state. It's not impossible, but it's quite low just given that atmospheric cap. But when we get towards the evening hours and the overnight hours, nocturnal cooling can help weaken that cap. If that does occur, we may see widespread scattered storms develop right around, I'll say, between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. up in the Big Rapids, Saginaw, Muskegon areas. That is expected to form as individual cells and quickly grow into a line. We call it a linear complex, and that'll push off to the south-southeast very rapidly. So if we go ahead and move the radar through here, we're going to look at, this is 7. Now, again, this could be a little later. Actually, no, I apologize. I do apologize. This is 9, I think. Hold on. Yeah, this is 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. We see this big squall line take shape from Muskegon all the way over to North Metro Detroit. So it encompasses pretty much the entire state. This pushes off into the midnight. It clears the central parts of the state. It's in Lansing, Kalamazoo area. You're on deck for this. 1 a.m. and then 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. It continues to grow and expand south-southeastward with time. With this, I'll go ahead and switch back here. If we go ahead and move back here to this 11 p.m. frame. Now, if you remember the last one we looked at, the model, we looked at instability. We didn't have any in the state for tonight. Well, this is the difference here. Look at this. All this red here in the southern part of the state. I do apologize. I did not switch this back over. I do apologize. Hold on. There we go. I'll go ahead and go over this again. I do apologize. We'll go back over this. There we go. All right, so we'll go back over here to the radar time frame, run it back through here. We go ahead and run it through. This is 3, 4, 5. We do have some showers and storms developing. Into the overnight hours, this is 10. And then by 11 o'clock, we have a full developed squall line here across central parts of Michigan. And this is going to push off to the east-southeast quite rapidly here. This is 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 3 a.m. We do expect it to be a little bit further east on this, and also right around that 7 to 9 p.m. time frame, we'll start to get those storms touching off. Now, what I wanted to show you guys is back it up here to 11 o'clock. We see the squall line here that is encompassing pretty much the entire state from Detroit over to Muskegon. Now, we looked at the previous model for this evening. We didn't have any of that instability. This is the difference between tonight and then tomorrow. Check this out. This is your instability map. That is your surface-based instability that's going to fuel the storms. We're going to have very warm temperatures and very high dew points. Temperatures in the low 80s, dew points are going to be right around the mid 70s. We're talking really juicy environment, muggy, oppressive environment. That's also where we have the heat advisories in effect for tomorrow, and also again for Thursday. It's going to be very, very oppressive heat. So with that being said, we do have that significant amount of instability. This is midnight actually. So this is well past sunset and you still have this instability lingering around, that's going to fuel those storms through the overnight hours. We do have some parameter here for some rotation as well as some tornadic parameter with these storms, which is why we're kind of watching this. But again, it's going to depend on if that cap can break fully. If that cap doesn't break, two things could happen. One, storms may not fire at all. I want to stress that. If the cap is stronger than expected, storms may not fire at all. It could be what we call a cap bust. The second scenario is the cap may limit storms to become surface based. Now, when you have a lot of instability on the surface and updrafts can reach the surface, the storms become surface based, capable of all hazards, damaging winds, tornadoes, hail. But when you have this cap in place, sometimes storms can't reach, the updraft can't really reach the very surface to tap into that instability. So it becomes what we call elevated. If these storms are elevated, we'll still have a large hail threat, but the wind and tornado threat will be very, very little with the storms. So there's a couple different scenarios that could play out with that. But right now, just given the instability here, as well as the wind shear in place, and also the model starting to touch off some storms here in the central parts of the state, I do think there's going to be an enhanced risk here, or an enhanced threat, should I say, for at least some damaging winds, large hail, and then again, potential for tornadoes is there just given the wind shear. The SPC does highlight an area of 2% risk of tornadoes, again, in the exact same areas across central and southern parts of Michigan. So all hazards are being highlighted by the SPC, and I do see that here on these models that we're looking at that just really shows that this environment is capable of producing all hazards, but again, dependent on the cap. And then the third day I want to point out here is Thursday. If we go into the Thursday time frame, but before I do this, I want to say Thursday is going to be conditional on how Wednesday plays out. So if that front doesn't get shifted too far south across the border of Indiana and Ohio, that front could be still in Michigan somewhere. And if that is possible, we're going to have, again, high heat, high humidity, a lot of instability. And again, there's going to be that trigger for storms in the area that could touch off some storms in the evening time. So if we look again here, we go ahead into the Thursday afternoon. This is 1, 2, 3. We do have some storms up in northern Michigan. By 4 and 5 o'clock, we have these storms starting to develop across areas here in the central parts of the state. And this is 7, 8. We do have a widespread line develop here Thursday, 8 o'clock in the evening. We look at our instability here, plenty of it available. We look at our supercell parameters, plenty of it available. We look at our tornado parameter, plenty available. So we do have a severe threat possible here on Thursday, but again, it's highly dependent on how Wednesday plays out. That could shift completely south. So with that being said, I think I covered this pretty much in detail here. Timing wise, tonight, right now, looking at radar, we do have some storms up near the Mount Pleasant, Alma, Gladwin area. But as of right now, I do believe for the majority of us, we are dry. Let me double check that really quick. I'm going to switch up here to Marquette's radar. But we do have that threat overnight tonight. Storms are expected to develop after midnight, closer to that 1, 2, 3 a.m. time frame. Those will push off to the southeast. That's going to be overnight and then reaching the very southern part of Michigan, clearing the state by 9 a.m. in the morning. And then Wednesday's night's time frame, storms will be firing up right around the 7 to 9 p.m. time frame if storms do fire. Again, cap may not break. So if that's the case, we're not going to see storms. But if the cap does break, expect it to be in the evening time. And isolated storms are possible in Wednesday afternoon. It's just very unlikely and probably going to be isolated at that. Maybe 1 or 2 storms in the state. So not a very widespread threat Wednesday afternoon if storms can get up and going. Then Thursday would also be an evening time frame as well if Thursday's threat does come to fruition. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and leave this back on the SPC risk for this evening, and I'll go ahead and take some questions. So if you guys have questions, now is the time to drop those in chat, and I'll get to them here in a second. So go ahead and pull back the SPC risk. The SPC, this is tomorrow's risk. This isn't tonight's. Wouldn't be surprised if they went slight risk at the 2 a.m. update for that, but we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of uncertainty still with this event, which is why you're not seeing this as a higher risk. So, all right, there you go. That is tonight's threat and questions here. Let's go ahead and scroll through chat. If you guys have asked questions throughout the past 15 minutes, I'm probably not going to see them. So if you guys asked, go ahead and ask them again. I'll try and get to most of them. Again, probably not going to get to all of them, but we'll try to get to most. I want to make that clear. I did make a little bit of an error when I said that. I do think we will. I do think an upgrade to a slight risk is possible. Enhanced is not out of the question if there's more confidence in a widespread area of storms developing, but the confidence with this overall system is quite low, just given that strength of the cap. So to say it'll go enhanced at this point, it would be kind of, I guess, irresponsible. But I do think this goes slight risk if we have more confidence in storms developing. Let's see here. For what day, Karen? What day? You gotta specify. We talked about 3 days here. Yes, you can watch this live stream, as Nick was saying. You can watch the live stream back on YouTube and also on Facebook. If you give it a minute or two, it'll load it on Facebook on our page. You can go back and watch it if you want to rewatch it or if you missed a part. Do you think Macomb County will get hit bad? Again, we can't really say exact areas. Tonight, Macomb County, you look to be in the clear, just some rain again tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow night, it's possible for severe weather in Macomb. But we really just can't predict exact areas at this point. Friday looks okay, maybe some rain showers across the state, but overall temperature wise, Friday and the weekend will be much cooler than what we're going to have tomorrow and Thursday. Hillsdale County for tomorrow, you are in that threat later on in the overnight hours. Tonight's storms in Lansing will not be that bad, just probably some really intense lightning. And honestly, it'll probably be tomorrow morning, closer to 6, 7 a.m. time frame. If that does happen, look to your north. You'll probably see a photogenic shelf cloud, but it'll be harmless because it'll probably be elevated, not severe. Severe weather tonight should stay well north of Lansing. Yes, the NAM3 does pick up on storms approaching the KZU area tomorrow morning. Those will be elevated more than likely, producing maybe some small hail. But again, it'll most probably be a photogenic shelf cloud on the front edge of that squall line. Nothing severe about that. The real threat ramps up Wednesday night and also potentially Thursday night. Yes, Julie, down here in our part of the state, it will not be severe, and you're going to probably wake up to it tomorrow morning. So tonight, really no threat. It's going to be probably for the closer to the 7 to 9 a.m. time frame tomorrow morning for us. Time frame for the thumb. So tonight, again, probably closer to the 4 or 5 o'clock time frame. No severe weather is expected tonight. Tomorrow, right around the 7 to 9 p.m. time frame, a little bit after that for the thumb as storms fire up. If they fire up tomorrow, and again, Thursday should be well south of the thumb, but some showers are possible up in the thumb on Thursday. How likely do you think the cap will break? So, right now, the models are kind of back and forth on how strong the cap is. If I believe it's the HRRR model, if that's correct, we may have a pretty strong cap here in place. We're not going to have that data, the real time data on hand until they launch a sounding, which is basically the X-ray of the atmosphere. So right around tomorrow at noon, we're going to have a better idea of how the atmosphere looks across Michigan. So we do expect the cap to weaken as the evening comes on, which is why you see a higher threat in the evening for storms. But overall, I think it will break eventually. I just don't know exactly when and how quickly it will. 4 a.m. for Muskegon. So Muskegon tonight, you're looking at mainly just some intense lightning. I don't think there's going to be much in the way of severe weather for Muskegon, but you're looking closer to the 5, 6 o'clock time frame this morning. Nothing right now for Cassopolis, Fred. St. Joe and Branch County, you guys are in that threat. Hillsdale's in the threat. Monroe County, you guys are in the threat for tomorrow evening. Again, areas in that green up by Mount Pleasant, up by Gaylord, up by Traverse City, you guys are in the threat tonight. And then the threat tomorrow shifts to the south into the central and southern parts of Michigan. Pine Knob tomorrow night, so you're looking probably closer to 9, 10 o'clock or a little bit after that. Percentage, would you say cap breaks, storms fire off? At this point, I'd just say 50-50. I do think that cap will break, so maybe like 60%. But to say I have full confidence in it breaking, that'd be a lie. Weirder things have happened in weather. So if tomorrow goes completely dry, I'm not going to be shocked, although I don't think it will be completely dry. I see a lot of questions here. Give me a second to read through these. So nap tomorrow because it's going to be a long night. Depends on where you are, Dawn, and what day. But yeah, Wednesday, if storms fire off like the storm or what the models are saying here, Wednesday night's going to be a long night for us here in southern Michigan here. We'll be live though. We'll be covering it. I'm really hoping this comes to fruition this tomorrow morning with that decaying line. As you get these decaying lines, a lot of times you get outward outflow boundaries. And when that happens, you get a really photogenic shelf cloud. So I'm really hoping that this line that comes through in the morning as it's decaying, as it's weakening, it'll be really photogenic and it'll probably be a beautiful shelf cloud. But don't get scared of it. It's just going to be really photogenic. It's going to be harmless. But definitely take a picture of it, send it into the page if you guys see one. I'll be out chasing. All right, Freddie, see you out there. Where is the best chance? What day? You guys got to be specific here. We talked about 3 days. The best chance for severe weather tonight is going to be up in the UP and also the northern part of Michigan. Tomorrow on the central and southern parts of Michigan. And then Thursday, it'll be dependent on how Wednesday plays out. But right now, it appears to be a south of I-96, South Michigan type of event here on Thursday. Drew asks if there is potential for the strong cap, but an isolated storm updraft or two that could overcome the cap, causing those few isolated storms to take in all the instability in Cape. I know these setups sometimes happen in the plains. You can get huge supercells at time. It's just given the amount in the reservoir of Cape that we have available, I don't think one or two storms is going to completely suck in all the instability. I do think once you have one storm going up, more storms are likely. I don't like, for example, the parameters tomorrow, they do indicate some rotation is possible, but for the most part, the wind profiles and just the overall explosiveness of the atmosphere would support upscale growth. So with that being said, I think if any tornadoes do happen tomorrow, supercells are going to be either just semi-discrete, embedded, or QLCS type of supercell looks. I don't think one or two storms would suck all the instability up. I do think there's potential in the afternoon for one or two storms to go up, but I don't think those are going to be severe just given the strength of that cap through the afternoon hours. I hope that answered your question, Drew. Gusty winds is going to be your main threat, not tonight. Tonight's threat is going to be hail only. Gusty winds, tornadoes, not likely at all tonight. Tomorrow, all hazards are possible, but winds are going to be your main threat because of the linear nature of the storms. So winds are going to be your main threat for tomorrow. Where in Michigan do you believe would have the highest chance for severe weather tomorrow? So if we go ahead and look at the SPC, go ahead and flip over here to the day. Actually, hold on. I had the right screen up. I just got to go back here and load this in. So this is tomorrow's risk. Anywhere in that dark green area is going to be where the highest risk is going to be. I do think the risk is a little higher down here in the Mount Pleasant, Saginaw, Flint, Lansing, Ann Arbor, Detroit areas, just because the strength of that squall line develops right by Bay City, Saginaw area, and that pushes off to the east-southeast. So areas like Flint and Lansing would probably have the peak wind threat with this linear complex at its strongest. And I will go ahead, since I'm going to talk about this, I will go ahead and flip over here to the tornadic risk just because it's a little bit smaller. This is your 2% tornado risk that the SPC has out there. So it does encompass pretty much the exact same areas. Detroit Metro, Ann Arbor, down by Monroe County, over to Lansing, Alma, Mount Pleasant, Grand Rapids. You guys are all included in that 2% tornado risk. It's just not going to be as wide of an area as the overall wind and hail risk tomorrow. All right, let's go ahead. Keep on trucking here. For tomorrow, Matthew, I would expect a slight to be issued if there's more confidence in that cap breaking. I do expect there to be an upgrade, but again, only if we had more confidence, because right now confidence is quite low. They could upgrade to a slight, nothing could form. Oh, look, the SPC looks like a fool. They just try to protect themselves, but overall, when there's more confidence, the parameters do suggest this could be upgraded. So I would not be shocked to see it at a slight risk. I do as well. I do as well, Ben. What day, Tom? You guys got to be specific when you're asking questions. If you're asking what areas, what times, you got to have specific question or specific days. We have Tuesday this evening. We do have Wednesday evening. We have Thursday evening. Talking this evening, it's going to be after midnight up in the northern part of Michigan. Talking tomorrow night is going to be right between the 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. time frames, and that's going to work its way and clear the state by around 4 a.m. So all the days are going to be in the evenings, overnight hours. Thursday may be a little bit earlier if there's a threat on Thursday. We'll have to kind of wait and see how that plays out. Our confidence in Thursday is quite low. It's just these models are kind of throwing out the instability still lingering around, as well as the heat indices closer to 100, 110. So we do have a very juiced atmosphere. A very well-known meteorologist in Michigan said there's a severe threat through Sunday. I don't see a threat on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Although I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I do see the boundary slash front. It shifts into Ohio and Indiana on Friday with the Thursday evening storms, and it stays down there. So I don't think we're going to have a severe threat through the weekend. It will be much cooler. We're talking low 80s, maybe high 70s for Friday and Saturday. But again, pattern changes in this type of pattern that we're in, they can come up pretty quickly. So I'm not going to completely rule it out. I don't see it happening at this point in time. If that changes, we'll have updates on our page. Great idea. If you guys have kits or supplies, get them stocked and ready. Would not be a bad idea. Bloomfield Township, no, really not tonight. Tomorrow evening would be their main threat for any type of storms. Would anything get hatched for Wednesday over Oakland County? Normally, for a hatched area, you want to see an enhanced risk. I have seen hatched slight risk before, but they're quite rare. If anything does get excuse me, if anything does get hatched, it'll probably be for hail. But overall, I think that threat is quite low. If we had more bulk 6 kilometer shear, I wouldn't be shocked to see a higher wind threat. But the shear it's really strong in the low levels, mid levels. But when we get to the upper levels, the shear is quite average, I guess. It's about minimum what you want to see for rotating or for sustained updrafts. So we do have really good shear. It's just not overly strong in the upper levels. It's pretty strong in the low and mid levels, but again, the upper levels are not really there for a higher wind threat. Yes, I misspoke on that. What I meant to say was increased risk for storms Wednesday evening. I did say enhanced. I wouldn't be shocked if the parameters were there, if it goes enhanced. But again, the confidence in this overall forecast is very, very low given the cap, which is why you're seeing this at a marginal risk. I would not be shocked if it went slight risk. And if more confidence was had, I would not be shocked if it kept getting upgraded, just given the amount of the instability we have available and the amount of low and mid level shear we have. I would not be shocked. But overall, the confidence is just not there at this time. I do think wins over 60 are possible tomorrow evening. I don't think they're going to top 70, though. Again, we do have really good low and mid level shear, but not up in the upper levels. Erica, your days to watch are going to be Wednesday evening after midnight, and again Thursday evening. But Thursday evening is kind of conditional on how Wednesday plays out. So just watch for Wednesday evening after midnight for this. I wouldn't worry too much at this point for like so I wouldn't stress too much about it. But there is a risk there. Just to be prepared. Tune into the page tomorrow to get an update. Again, it's going to be dependent on how that cap plays out because it's a pretty strong cap that might limit storms. Wayne County for Wednesday. Again, you're looking mainly after midnight, and then wind, hail, and a possible spin up tornado is possible. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, high school football does start on Thursday and Friday here in Michigan. It's going to be very hot on Thursday, so I would really hate to be outside if you're a high school student and playing football or any type of sport outside Thursday. Heat indices are going to be close to 100 to 110 in spots in southern Michigan, so it's not going to be fun. So Branch County and Genesee counties, you guys mainly have to worry about Wednesday evening. What's coming in tonight is going to be mainly north of you guys. And if anything does make it this far south, it won't be severe. It'll be in the morning hours tomorrow morning. Just going to be a nice, probably photogenic shelf cloud, but nothing severe for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow night, after midnight in particular, wind, hail, and tornadoes are all possible. Wind is your primary threat, though, and a very low threat for tornadoes, and a medium threat, I guess I'll say, for hail. After midnight would be the time frame, Wednesday evening. Is the risk for tornadoes going to be increased tomorrow? I wouldn't know. I honestly like the 2% only because of the uncertainty, and also I would like to see a little bit more turning in the atmosphere to get storms to rotate. Thursday evening would be a day to watch to see if that plays out. It looks to be a little bit more turning in the atmosphere on Thursday evening. But for tomorrow, I think a 2% tornado risk is quite sufficient for this. It's mainly going to be a wind and hail threat, but just because there is that little turning there, it does kind of catch your eye and go, huh, there could be some type of some rotation with these storms. St. Clair County on Thursday. So St. Clair County, you guys are in the clear for Thursday. I'd say I think mainly Thursday it's going to be south of like Grand Rapids to Detroit. I wouldn't say it's possible if it's going to shift. It's going to be dependent on how Wednesday plays out, but I think you guys will be in the clear for Thursday, severe wise. Is there a tornado threat for Thursday night? So again, Thursday night is dependent on how Wednesday plays out. Looking at the model, in particular the NAM 3, if you click on a forecast atmosphere X-ray or profile, you're going to see a lot of turning with height with the wind shear and a lot of increase of speed with height, which would indicate we may have a severe threat, including some tornadoes possible. But I'm not going to say that and put that out there as a forecast right now just because the confidence is really low. Excuse me. It's just a day to watch at this point. What day? What day? For tonight, you guys should be in the clear. Just some elevated thunderstorms tomorrow night, looking mainly between probably 8 to 10 p.m. for you guys in Saginaw, maybe a little bit after that. Malcolm County, you guys are in that threat for severe weather, and again, looking mainly after the 10 to midnight time frame for you guys. I do want to take a peek really quick here at the live radar. There is that risk tonight. I don't see any storms firing up just yet up in the UP, but that may change in the coming hours here. And again, the UP and also the northwest central part of lower Michigan is in that risk for hail tonight. I'm concerned that people are going to underestimate the heat that's coming in for the next few days, especially if storms knock out power. So if we can get through tomorrow night without losing power, that'd be awesome because Thursday looks to be the last day of heat. Friday will be much cooler. But overall, yes, if storms do knock out power on Wednesday, either afternoon or evening, luckily it'll only be 1 day of heat, but it will be significant heat. So I also want to point out somebody asked on the page earlier why Detroit didn't issue any like heat advisories or excessive heat watches or anything like that. Um, there is potential that this morning round of showers and storms that work through the state leaves behind cloud debris in the morning. Depending on how significant that cloud debris is, it may drop high temps a little bit, but still very oppressive heat is possible if that scenario happens. I know Grand Rapids put their counties in an excessive heat watch or a heat advisory, one of the two. Detroit did not opt to do that. But overall, the heat indexes will be right around at least 95 to 100 and as high as 110. If we get the full sun in the morning, it's probably going to be right around the 110 mark. Dundee area for Wednesday. So the Dundee area for Wednesday, looking after midnight, probably closer to 3 in the morning for you guys down there. Again, if storms are surface based, if the cap doesn't play a role, all hazards are possible, including wind as a main threat, hail secondary threat, tornadoes are possible as a third threat, although the tornado threat is low. Yes, tomorrow and especially on Thursday, heat indexes may be close to or over 100 degrees. So the actual air temperatures are going to be right around the low to mid 90s. But given the amount of humidity and moisture in the atmosphere, it makes it feel like it's a lot hotter, which is what we call heat indexes or indices. So when you have that combination of 95-degree surface temperatures and we have, say, 75-degree dew point, you're going to have the heat index close to 100, 105, 110 degrees. So it's going to feel very, very hot. The heat index is going to be for tomorrow afternoon and also mainly going to be for Thursday. Thursday looks to be the hottest day of the year. All right, a lot of questions here. Will the heat increase and accelerate light lightning frequency, or is that a myth? I That'd be an Alex question. I do know the heat, the combination of the heat and moisture can increase ML cape, which is an ingredient we look for in lightning. I do think this because the amount of instability we have, lightning is going to be very, very likely. But I'm not really sure if I'm qualified to answer that question, Ben. Um, I just think that the amount of instability we're going to have, given the heat and the moisture, will spark off a lot of lightning. If that answers your question. Big Rapids area for Wednesday. So Big Rapids, you are in the threat. It's a um, low end tornado threat, mainly a damaging wind and hail threat for you guys, right around the 8 to 10 p.m. time frame. Timing for Pontiac for I'm assuming Wednesday evening. You're looking mainly after 10 p.m., maybe closer to midnight, depending on when storms decide to fire off. And again, it's going to be dependent on how that cap breaks or weakens, if it does. Because when that cap breaks or when that cap weakens, storms will pop off very quickly. It's a very juiced environment. Basically, just hard rain and wind for Genesee. Yeah, for the most part, it'll be wind and flooding is a threat as well. But given the amount of wind shear we have, hail and also tornadoes can't be ruled out there for Wednesday evening. Heat is severe weather. Make your plans. I mean, technically, yes, it is severe weather. Heat is severe weather. My plans are to fill my bath up with ice and lay in it. Ah, boy. Yeah, Big Rapids tomorrow night would be right around that time frame. Again, depending on how that cap breaks or weakens. Yes, I know. I used to work in a factory, so I know a lot of people who work in factories around the local area here. I do not wish them anything but the best. I feel for anybody working in a factory without AC. How is it looking for Lowell? So tonight, you guys do have a risk for hail, I believe. That stretches down toward Lowell. I'm not entirely sure. I think it cuts off just to the north of Lowell. The main threat would be tomorrow evening: wind, hail, and possibly tornadoes as well tomorrow evening. I do think the threat is highest tomorrow night for you guys, and it's going to be right around the 10 p.m. to midnight time frame, if not a little bit after that. I cannot get my radar to load. Go figure. Trying to load my radar up here so I can get. Yeah, so Lowell is just outside the risk tonight for you guys, so there's no risk in Lowell tonight. All right. Aaron, where are you at exactly? What location are you at? Overall, the severe threat overnight into the morning hours is very low. It's going to be for hail only. If you're in central or southern Michigan, it's going to be no severe threat at all. But there is going to be a pretty good squall line that could move through in the morning hours. Yeah, Big Rapids. So you guys are in the hail threat up there. So a very low hail threat. So maybe some quarter size hail falling could damage some windshields, put a dent in your car. But overall risk is quite low. And then any areas south of, say, Mount Pleasant over to Saginaw, you guys are in a pretty low end risk. Um, and then anywhere south of there, you guys are just going to have some nice lightning, probably some good rumbles of thunder, and heavy rain. Travis, for Wednesday evening, it'll probably just be a very short-lived wind event, maybe a minute on the leading edge of any squall lines that form. But again, if they form, to give them the cap. Coldwater, your threat would be tomorrow, and again potentially Thursday night, and you guys are going to be in a threat for mainly wind and hail. Damaging winds is your main, hail's your secondary threat, and then tornadoes are possible. And again, this can be dependent on if that cap can break. Calhoun County, exact same thing as what I just said for Coldwater. Is it going to rain in tomorrow morning? Yes, it will probably rain for most of us here in the state at least some point between now and we'll say 10 a.m. tomorrow. No problem, Josh. No problem, Brian. All right, I'm about to hop off here pretty soon. If you guys have more questions, hit that. Get those out there now. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button. We would appreciate that. It helps our algorithm out. We will be live probably again sometime tomorrow to explain the threat. Once again, we're going to be having, I believe Joel is currently in active chase mode, getting ready for storms that are coming towards him. Overall, we do have guys available to stream tonight. If anything does go severe, we may hop on here and stream. But again, it's going to be a hail threat. So if anything, we're going to go live and say, all right, guys, you got to get your cars inside, yada, yada, yada. We have large hail coming. The main risk is going to be tomorrow. So we'll probably go live sometime tomorrow, late morning or early afternoon, to explain the threat, give you guys the update, look how the atmosphere is taking off, just overall update. So look for our forecast tomorrow morning and another stream tomorrow morning or early afternoon. Um, we'll probably schedule it here tonight or tomorrow morning, so you guys will have a little bit of a heads up. But right now, it just appears to be a low end threat for tonight. Then the focus shifts to tomorrow, and again, possibly on Thursday evening. Yep, that is what. That's. I'm really hoping we get really photogenic shelf clouds tomorrow in Michigan. I'm really hoping we get a lot of pictures on the page. So if you guys do happen to see any large shelf clouds, send those in to us. We will post them on our page if you give us permission. Leslie, no threats for St. Clair County tonight. Tomorrow evening, all hazards are possible if the cap will break. Hail threat tonight, and then low end threat for severe weather tomorrow. What radar product do I use? I use a combination of three. I use Radar Omega, Radar Scope, and Gibson Ridge Level 2. Yeah, naps. I mean, I'm already tired, and I gotta do a podcast, and I'll be up for a little bit watching to see if these storms do go severe. So I got a long night and probably a long day ahead of me. I'll probably be sleeping a lot tomorrow before any threats happen tomorrow evening. So I'll take a nap tomorrow. Monster Energy will be my savior for chasing tomorrow. Yeah, I feel that. McDonald's iced coffee for me. I really can't do Monster. It makes me too hyper. That's a great summary, Diane. Watch Wednesday overnight hours, very hot both Wednesday and Thursday, and then we're not too sure about Thursday storms, but it is possible we may see another severe threat develop on Thursday. In fact, the SPC does indicate very southern parts of Michigan are in a severe threat, so that's that. But we may see that be extended further north. So we'll have to watch and see how that plays out. Oakland County, no threat tonight. Tomorrow evening and also potentially Thursday evening will be threats for you guys. Wind is your first threat, hail is your second threat, and then tornadoes is your third threat in that order. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here. So, just recapping again one more time. Severe threat tonight is going to be hail only in the northwest central parts of lower Michigan and also the western part of the UP. Hail only. No wind, no tornadoes expected. Those storms will work its way south southeast. Will reach southern parts of Michigan by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. No severe is expected. Hot tomorrow. Severe threat is possible if the cap will break tomorrow evening. All hazards are possible tomorrow, mainly in the form of damaging winds, but hail and tornadoes are possible as well. Thursday evening, a potential threat will happen again. Again, probably going to be dependent on if the cap holds and if the boundary doesn't shift too far south. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop off here, and we'll be streaming if anything significant happens tonight. And we'll also be streaming probably tomorrow morning as an update. And then if anything does go severe tomorrow evening or any of us chase, we'll be live then. So, thank you guys, and hit that like button on your way out. We would appreciate that. Thanks for watching.